Hello, everyone. Welcome to Biz Talk with Jyoti. Today we have with us Alison Williams from the Black Women Collective. She's an entrepreneur and is helping Black women do better business by providing coaching and other services. Let's dive into the conversation with her. Hi, Alison. How are you?
I'm good. Hi.
So, everybody, we have Alison today with us who runs the Black Women Collective. This is a collective for Black women. She helps women do business in a better way. So, let's hear about what she does at the Black Women Collective. Alison, if you can tell us a little bit about what it is and what exactly are you doing here?
Okay. Great question. Thank you for inviting me to be on this podcast. The Black Women Collective is an organization that was set up to help Black women build, grow, and sustain their business through community. And through community, they have access to each other. So it's Black women supporting each other to build their businesses or grow, sustain. And this business is a social enterprise, so it is a membership community. So we're in a community where we have access to resources, we have access to accountability sessions and masterminds, and we're all supporting each other to up level.
That's great. So, could you tell us a little bit about what compelled you to start this initiative? What drove you to this?
Okay, I'm going to try and keep it short. Okay, so there was a couple of things going on. Originally, when I moved to Ontario, it was in the middle of the pandemic, and I was already a trained coach, and I had combined my coaching and my social work to be a parenting consultant. And then that was, 2018, I started that business. I left my day job and I was doing that full time. It was going as it was supposed to be. But I had a lot of connections and I'd worked in that field. And then I moved and I was quite isolated, and it was an isolating time, as we know, for everybody, and everybody went online. But basically, my confidence started to be eroded. And basically, I decided I needed to build community. And in building community, it was something I'd thought about, finding people that were like minded, like myself. But what happened was that my confidence to actually create a meetup or create a group. So I went off and done some more coaching and really felt that I wanted to embody what I believe to be true about if we believe that we are, we're worthy of success and everything that's and belonging, then why don't I walk it and talk it? So I did. I believed that I was descendants from royalty. So I went out there and I bought a crown. Well, actually, I didn't buy a crown. I did some research and realized that men and women wore crown, but women wore their, what's it? The women wore why has it got out of my head? Tiaras. So I went out and I bought a tiara and I wore it everywhere for, I wore it everywhere. I wore it shopping when I was doing the garden and everything. And that was really to embody that I felt that I was able to have whatever I wanted, and that confidence grew because, well, this is what happened. What I saw happen with you, Jyoti, is that as soon as I said that I wore a crown, everybody smiled. People just smiled. And when you saw that, people just literally came towards me and wanted to wish me happy birthday, happy anniversary, or anything else in between. So basically, that was the beginning of taking imperfect action. And along with my coach, we were going to take imperfect action. And one of them was to build a community. And so I went online and I created a community, Black entrepreneurial women wearing their invisible crown. And that was really history within a week or maybe even a day. It was the first day, I think we had about 25 women on there. By the end of the week, we had about 100. Within 6 months, we had 1,000 women all over the world who had come in and joined and wanted to be a part of this community. So kind of that's the story of the birth of the Black Women Collective was I created this community.
That's
And then,
great, Alice.
yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that at that time I had a mentor from Scotiabank and I was working with one of the business advisors at the Entrepreneurial Center here in Brampton. And they were just saying, I know you want to build up your parenting coaching, which is Yellow Door Coaching, but these women are coming on your platform for a reason. I think you should build community around them. And that really was the advice and the support of my mentor and my business advisor to go into an incubator and build out a business. Initially, it was for a for profit business. But when I started to do the research and look at the data, it was very clear that our road would be actually a social enterprise, building, helping women through community to connect and achieve and access the resources they needed.
Wow, that's great. I mean, it's really inspiring that how you really wore a crown every day and you could gain the confidence to wear it in public and go to places and embrace it. And then, you took a step forward and you started helping others as well build a business. That's amazing. So, at the moment when you say you are helping Black women come forward and do business, you are helping them establish themselves. Could you tell me as to what are the odds of Black women, especially coming into business and doing a sustainable business in current times?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's what the research really, when I looked at that data all over North America. So Black entrepreneurial women have been the fastest growing into the entrepreneurial world for the last 8 years. But unfortunately, we're the fastest out. And that's because the data speaks to lack of mentorship, lack of access to the resources. And you might think, well, there's loads of resources. There's the internet, you can go find them. But like most of us, we're buried with information and not knowing what the right information or what the right steps are what are the right steps you need to take in order to build your business. And really, having access, when we think about resources, we often think about what those resources are. Is it money? What is it? But actually, it's knowledge. It's understanding the world of business, understanding how to build a foundation, and understanding how to scale, and knowing that your passion is not necessarily does it make good business, right? Because a good business is really about an opportunity to scale your business, employ people, rather than, we were talking about last night at one of our networking events about just being self-employed. So even understanding the lens of entrepreneurialism, what is entrepreneurialism? What is it to be a business owner? What is it to be self-employed? And really just understanding the frameworks and how to set up a business.
Okay. So when you say, okay, Black women actually they are the fastest in business community, they are building businesses since last 8 years, there has been growth, and they're the fastest out. You say they are the fastest out because of the lack of knowledge, they are not able to survive in constantly evolving fields and
Yeah,
try to keep up.
yeah, that's so let me explain a little further then. It's more around it's not just one thing, it's many, right? So we know that the Black community are marginalized. So if we just think about it, if we just take a step back and think about what it is to be a woman, and even within the workspace and out here in the community, we understand that the same biases are still relevant. They're still happening, right? When we're going in front of people asking for resources. The second is that as a female, then as an entrepreneur, right? So as an entrepreneur, we actually think very differently from the average person that goes to work and has a paycheck. And sometimes we're kind of misunderstood. And I could talk about how many interventions I've had from my family where they say, you're a social worker, go out and earn lots of money. Why are you, trying to build a business and you're. it's not as fluid financially as maybe a paid job. And then also the fact that we're black, right? So as black women, so each of them the intersectionality of all three of them makes it incredibly more difficult, and we are incredibly more marginalized out here in the community and in the community of entrepreneurialism. And so even though we tend to do really, really well when we have success as business owners, what's happened is that we're still a very, very small community. And so we opportunities to be together and connect are very rare. There's not many opportunities. And so as a businesswoman, work as an entrepreneur, as a female, as a entrepreneur, female and black, I think that what the data said was that you're much more likely to be unsuccessful because of the huge biases and the racism and the microaggressions. And so if you don't have community or a very strong foundation in your business, it can be really difficult. It's difficult for the average entrepreneur because it's a world where you have to be unique. It's a very competitive world. You have to shine and you have to be able to position yourself so people can use your product or use your service. And so black women tend to be in service providing roles as entrepreneurs. So all these things make it a little bit harder for us to really build and grow in the way that the average entrepreneur can build and grow their business.
Got it. So, and I'm glad that you are taking up the initiative in helping women succeed in their paths to entrepreneurship. That's great. So, do you have any story from the women that you have, consulted or, you have mentored who have, grown their business successfully, and some story that really shines out from all the women that you have helped at the moment?
That's a great question. Trying to think of one. There's so many. Yes, one of my so in our accountability sessions, we have one of the things is that you become we have accountability sessions every single week in different areas from marketing and branding to money mindset to productivity and operations and many more. And so as women come to those groups and lean in and talk about their business and ask for support and or learn because it's kind of has many layers to it. What happens is that relationships are built and connections are built that are incredibly powerful. And so one of the women, she kept saying that she doesn't have time or she's finding it very difficult to get leads. This was in the branding, I think, marketing. And that because they've been working together for over a year, they were able to say, those are all excuses. Those are all excuses because really it's about creating boundaries with your family and yourself. And so they were able to break it down for her in a way that she could hear it and understand that, yeah, I can put all these things that are the reason why my business is not growing. But the real reason is I need to do this work. I need to do this piece of the work, right? Because as women, we're pulled in so many different directions, which is another reason why women tend to be not as successful as men because you often they're caring for someone, whether it's their children, their family, or their extended family. And typically now we're in this sandwich generation where we're caring for our own children or we're caring for our parents. And so those things mean that sometimes it's very difficult to prioritize your time and energy in your business. And so having someone that you can really understand what you're trying to achieve and be open and honest, I think, and you're able to receive it. And so she went on to building a business that was barely getting clients, but she was able to implement some of the things that they had given her and some of the strategies around creating boundaries and build her business to at, 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 at six-figure income just because she was given the right advice, because they understood what was the limiting beliefs around what was getting in the way. So yes, that's one of them.
Wow, that's truly incredible. So moving on. So What has your journey taught you about the complexity of identity, especially as a Black woman in leadership spaces?
That's a great question. I think what it's taught me is that it is that every day, yeah, you have to find opportunities or make time to take care of yourself, to ensure that you are grounded in your belief and your ability to go out there and lean in, even when it feels hard or demanding. And that it's not that you have to work a little harder, it's more about you have to work hard. Building a business and leading and being a leader means that you have to step into spaces that you don't normally typically step into. And you have to be able to advocate and understand who you are trying to serve and who you're trying to support. And so, one of the things someone had said, I was at the University of Toronto, and I was on being interviewed, and they asked me, so what do you do? And I was telling them about what I do, and then they said, oh, so you're like a business broker? And I said, yeah, maybe I'm that as well. Add it to my list. So actually, it's about learning that you wear many hats depending on what you're advocating and what you're trying to achieve.
Hmm. True, absolutely. Do you ever feel pressure to represent a community in a room where you are the only one?
I think that comes with the territory. I think that I've always felt that, regardless whether I was a practicing social worker or whether I'm out here building community, that we tend to be in spaces that we are in a minority or the only one. Often, yes, because you're very visual in terms of people come up to you and ask questions. And so you want to be able to position yourself there to come across as confident, knowledgeable about what you're trying to achieve. And so, yes, there is some level of pressure because you can't hide in the corner. People, you can't disappear into the room. You know, people are looking at you, and the uniqueness of being um, as those three areas are areas that individually often people have to work and identify as areas of growth, areas of work. And now, as an entrepreneur, we have all three of them. And so we're constantly, or I feel constantly, I'm advocating and presenting myself as a leader in this space.
So yeah, I understand it. It must be challenging. It must be a lot of pressure to feel. Wherein if you are the only one, keeping what your points are, keeping what your vision is, and making sure your vision is understood across by everyone, and you're able to make constructive progress towards the vision. I think it's a lot of pressure for sure. And I think you're doing a lot of great work for a lot of women out there. So, what has been the most challenging part of building and leading this collective till now?
Um, I think the most challenging has been to dispel the myth that just because we fit into all these categories that every door is open to us and we have access, and that's not on the ground. That's not true. There's a lot of tokenism in the work, and that's been the hardest. That the organizations that position themselves to support marginalized communities, it's very much on their agenda, and that's been a learning curve, I must say. It's about developing your business or your programming around to fit the needs of these potential funders or potential supports. And really trying to figure out how and who to align with as a business owner, and ensuring that when you do that alliance, when you decide to collaborate or build with another organization, it's more recognizing that you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it to align for the women that you've created the organization for. So there's lots of there's a definitely a layered approach in developing good practice in working with different agencies and collaboration with different organizations.
Okay. Talking about challenges, have you ever encountered resistance from within the community?
I haven't, I wouldn't describe it as resistance. I would describe it as trust. I think trust is a big issue within our community. And I think people misunderstand um, what is the why are you doing this, what's in it for you, and really don't understand unless they really come alongside and get connected, understand the true nature of this business is to help them build their businesses. And I think more not the resistance. I think, Jyoti, I think it's more around it's shifting mindsets, thinking about here we have a community where women are connecting together and supporting each other. And I know that honestly, when I create a community, people came. There was people came and they're still coming without me even advertising. What's different is shifting this mindset that you're supposed to, as an entrepreneur, is you, yourself, and I, and shifting that a community can help you build, a community can help you grow, a community can support you when the times are harder, or when you're trying to figure out things, that you can have other women that you can lean on to build and support you.
Right. And have you found support from people outside the Black community?
Um, yes, but I would say that it tends to be limited in terms of their support. I know that I have um, men and women who really believe in what I'm doing, that not necessarily part of the Black community,
Mm.
um, and and I found that to be encouraging and supportive, because some of my mentors are not from my community. They are, and they're not even female, they're male. And I find, yeah, I suppose I should say that. I think, yeah, I have really great mentors actually, and they don't fit the Black woman. They're not Black and they're not women. So, yes.
What do you think the younger generation of Black women entrepreneurs need to hear that they are not being told enough?
Honestly, if I could answer that question this way, that I think young Black women, but I also feel young Black youth, people who want to come into the world of entrepreneurship are just not given enough information, don't have access to what it is to be an entrepreneur, what are the tools they need, can they go to university to be an entrepreneur? All these things are not readily available to them. And I think that's what they're not hearing, that this is an option, a really good, viable option, not necessarily just because you have a passion, but more because you feel like you could build a business. Given the opportunities, I think more women would definitely step into the entrepreneurial world.
Okay. So this brings me to another question, wherein you say not readily available information on that universities. You can go to a university for learning entrepreneurship, or so yeah, there are businesses who are getting incubated in DMZ and other places, and universities are helping. And there are organizations, I see so many in Brampton as well, who are helping businesses learn how to do better business and learn how to set up themselves. So what is this gap which is created? Why are they not able to access all this information? What is it that limits them to get to this information and support?
And that's a great question. And I would say that depending on so it's depending on your family, depending on your school that you attend, depending on the people that you're surrounded, that not necessarily is a conversation unless you come from an entrepreneurial family, unless there's an uncle or an aunt that's an entrepreneur. Business, setting up your business is not necessarily the thing that is discussed. It's always about what career are you going to do, what kind of organization do you want to work for, what do you want your degree to be in, And so it tends to be more traditional. Schools are very traditional. Homes are typically very traditional. And I find that the accessibility is by the way, it's an accidental rather than a given as a choice, just like to go and study music or go and study art or go and study um, engineering or they're more they're more available to the everyday conversations at home and in the school and popular culture. And so it's not that there isn't lots of creativity and accessibility that schools provide or further education. But, if we look at, Western has a whole huge complex. I have to say complex because it's a huge building to entrepreneurship, right? Humber College and the University of Toronto, but you don't know unless you know. You don't know that this is a viable option, and that's what I mean. I think that because if I knew that entrepreneurship was an option when I went and did my first degree, even though it was in London, England, I would have probably been interested in doing a degree in entrepreneurship, right? Because it's something that I know I've always been excited about doing businesses, and I've always run a business, even if it was someone else's business, alongside my day jobs.
Wow. So you mean to say it has to be more dinner table conversation, it has to be more in school conversation, and a lot of conversation has to happen when in the growing years when people know, okay, this is also an option for them to choose a path or career in entrepreneurship. They can also build something they can call their own as a career.
Yeah, I
Right.
think that I wonder if it was a viable option like maths and English and geography, like entrepreneurship to explore the world of business, right? Because if you think about even when you were at school and people went off to do a business degree, it wasn't necessarily with the hindsight of saying I want to open a business, but more I was going to help run someone else's business. So,
Yeah.
and depending on families' economic standing, depending on the education in the family, depending on about their exposure to different types of businesses, I suppose this would be great to answer in. Let me frame it in this way. So, when I was in Calgary, my daughter went to a girls' school, and every month I was in charge of the lunch and learns, and my job was to bring in women from different industries into talk to the young women about careers, different types of careers. And so I brought in different women from different walks of life. And one woman stuck out to me that was really, she was like, a top one of the Canada's top Mary Kay consultant managing director, and she said that she left as she shared her business and her success. She said, when people ask you, she left this with the young women. If people ask you what do you want to do for a living or what do you want your career to be, don't say I want to be an electrician or I want to be a teacher or I want to open up yourselves to this, that I want to do something that teaches people how to do things differently, because you have a whole whole array of different. It's not necessarily in a school. She says, I have been doing Mary Kay. I was a teacher for 10 years and then I went into this. I've been doing this for 30 years and I teach women every day how to do business. I teach women how to put on makeup. I'm teaching. And so I think that it's really about not bottlenecking or saying this is that you want to do this career and you need to do it this way, that there's lots of opportunities. And then another one said that I thought really stuck to me was that when you dream about what you want to do and what you and where you want to go in your life in terms of business or career, she says, I do a job that wasn't even invented when I was your age. So again, don't limit yourself to what you can see in front of you. Dream about what you would really like to do. And that was a really important for me to hear that, because I saw those young women say, yeah, Yeah, I can dare to dream that
Yeah.
there's no barriers. So I love that. So that stuff is so important to me.
Wow. That's really a good lesson. There's no barrier to dream. Definitely, we all have the free will to dream as big as we can and then work towards achieving it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, most definitely.
So, at the moment, how do you define your leadership style? And do you think over the years you have changed your leadership style? It has evolved over time and with learnings, definitely that you're getting on the way?
Yeah, I think that my leadership style is I'm learning. I'm definitely learning that my greatest teachers are often my students, my interns. They really challenge me and they teach me lots of things about me and how I run the business. I think that I am the type of leader that really believes that I feel like I'm a one that I'm not a micro leader. I don't want to tell you how to do every single step. I find that really exhausting. I like to create the space for you to imagine and build on your own skills. And so, but I know that doesn't work for everybody. I know that some people, especially depending on generations, they need a little bit more hand holding. And I think my growth has been developing and learning how and when to hand hold more and when to step back and allow them to just plant the seed and allow them to build whatever they're building or developing in our business. So yes, I think that I'm yeah, not someone that kind of hovering over them at all.
So, what lies next for the Black Women Collective? What's next?
I think what's next is the next step, which has been on hold for a while, which is about having community, building community in different parts of the world. So one of the things is that the idea is the Black Women Collective will have their in person events in every community where Black women are raising up their hands and want to network together as a support and build community. And so we've had that on hold for a little while, but as people have continued to ask, can they create that in their city or town, BWC community? So although our platform is international, in person events happen just here in the GTA. So the goal would be to start to build that out as something that raising up those ambassadors so that they can build their in-person events in their community.
Great. We have had a beautiful conversation with you, Alison. One last question that I would like to ask you is what is it that one message that you would like to give to future Black women entrepreneurs?
One message I'd like to give to everybody is we've been talking a lot about careers and about going to school and learning how to be a teacher, artist, a songwriter, a musician, or whatever we are wanting to do with our lives. But one of the things that we're quite happy to invest our time and energy into building our careers in those chosen fields. And I would say, as an entrepreneur or someone that's thinking about going into entrepreneurism or already in there, invest in yourself. Get a business coach, go back to school, take in as much training as possible because the entrepreneurial world is huge in terms of there's lots of learning, there's lots of growing, and it's happening all the time. And especially as you develop your business and you start to grow. So why wouldn't you just invest that time and energy to build it up from the ground right with all the resources you need right from the beginning?
That's a great advice. I mean, yeah, that's learning is a constant process and we should invest in learning every single day. Absolutely. That's a beautiful advice for everyone. Thank you so much, Alison, for your time today. It was a beautiful conversation that we had. I'm sure the audience would get a lot of inputs from here and a lot of people can connect with you once we drop this podcast online. We will have all the contact information for Alison Williams in the description on the podcast. So people who are interested in connecting with Alison, they can connect with her. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Alison.
Thank you very much, Jodie. It was wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate you. Take care. Bye bye.
Hey everyone, so that was such an insightful conversation with Alison. She, I'm sure, has given a lot of things to learn from this podcast. So keep watching Let's Talk with Jyoti for more such content. Thanks.